everyone, and welcome to a new revision series for the Level 2 Award in Hospitality and Catering. I will release a new video each week covering each topic, and my plan is to tell you what my top 10 things are for each one. So we're going to start the vlogs off with the structure of the hospitality and catering industry. So here are my top 10. So number one is types of provider. So you need to know that the hospitality industry is split into 4 types of providers. The first one is accommodation, so things like hotels and campsites. The second one is food services, restaurants, cafes, coffee shops. Then you've got contract caterers, which we'll come on to later on in the vlog. And then you've got events and conferences. So there are your 4 types of provider. So number 2 on the list is types of service. So there are many types of service that you need to know, and that just means that you need to understand how we serve our food to our customers. I'm going to check my list for this one so I don't miss any out for you. But the first one would be formal dining. Now this is where you are seated, you get waited on. So the waiter or waitress will take your order, they'll bring it to your table. It might be silver service, so the wait staff might come to your table and serve your meal at the table. And then you've got something called gueridon, which is where they cook part of the meal at the table. So you might have seen crepe Suzette, where it's a bit of a show and they finish the cooking at your table and goes up in flames, and they put on a bit of a show for you. Okay, so that is formal dining. Now the next one on my list is street food, and that is ready to eat food, and it is what it says, it's street food, it's served on a street, so you can either find little stalls along the street or you might see some food trucks. Next we have self-service. Okay, so that is just self-service. You as a customer go and you help yourself to the food, much like a carvery. So if you go to a carvery, you know you are plated your meats, possibly your Yorkshire puddings and your stuffing, but then you help yourself to your vegetables, your sauces and condiments. Okay, the next one is fast food. Now that is what it says, it's fast food, so it's made to order and it's made really quickly, and you've got 2 options, you can either take it away or you can eat in. Next then, what have we got? Cafeteria. Okay, these are kind of like small restaurants. You might find that there's light meals, there's refreshments and snacks. They're often quite inexpensive. The next on my list is takeaway. Okay, so takeaway foods. You can either order over the phone or you can go to the establishment and you can order, and then you can take the food away and eat it at home. Next then is a buffet service, and I think we all know what buffet is. You go and you help yourself to your food, but you do need to know that there's 3 different types of buffet. You have a sit down buffet where you go and help yourself to your food and then go and sit at the table. You can have a stand up buffet, or they often call it a fork buffet, where you go and collect your food and then you stand around and you eat your food and you can mingle with people and talk to people. It's quite a social event. And then you have a finger buffet. So everything's designed so you can eat with your fingers and you don't need your cutlery. So the next is vending service. So you'll have all seen vending machines, that's all it means, it's all automated. You pay with either cash or your card and then you select the items that you want. This is quick and it's easy, and companies don't have to pay for staff to man it. They just have to pay for the maintenance. The next one would be transport catering. So this is where companies serve you food whilst you are in transport. So this is either on a plane, on a train, a boat, sometimes buses and coaches do that as well, but it just means that you are catered for whilst you are being transported to a different place. The next one is hotels. They obviously provide overnight accommodation, and they often have restaurants or smaller cafes, coffee bars, they have alcoholic bars, and you can order what you want, and they often provide room service as well, so you can order from your room and get it delivered to you in your room, so you don't actually have to go into the restaurant or bar. The next on my list is B&Bs, which is very similar to hotels. They provide overnight accommodation, but you'll often find that it's in someone's private house and they've converted their rooms, and then they might serve you breakfast in the morning either in their dining room or their kitchen. Number 3 on my list is to know the difference between commercial and non-commercial establishments. Now, commercial just means that they're there to make a profit. So they want to make money, things like restaurants, cafes, coffee bars. And then the opposite of that is non-commercial, and they're not there to make a profit, but they do need to provide a catering service. So you've got things like hospitals, prisons, the armed forces. Now number 4 is to know the difference between residential and non-residential. So residential just means that they provide accommodation, so that is somewhere that you can go and you can stay overnight. Things like hotels, bed and breakfast, you stay overnight and they can provide catering as well. The opposite of that, non-residential, is somewhere that doesn't give you accommodation. You can't stay overnight. Somewhere like a pub, okay, or a cafe or a restaurant. You're being provided a catering service, but you can't stay and sleep over. Number 5 would be about suppliers. Now suppliers are crucial to any business being successful. You have to find the right supplier, they have to be reputable, and you have to get quality ingredients. So there's lots of things that a business has to consider when looking at suppliers. They want to consider the cost of the items. Is it value for money? Are they quality produce? Do they offer a good delivery service? And companies generally find this out through word of mouth recommendations or review sites. Okay, they would do their research before they opt into any supplier to make sure they're getting a good product. There are 3 categories in terms of suppliers, and you need to know them. So the first one is the primary market, and that's getting the produce from the source, the raw ingredient, the raw material. The second one is the secondary market. Now these are things like your wholesalers. So a company might go to wholesalers and they buy in bulk. Makes everything a little bit less expensive. And the third one is the tertiary market, which is just retail. Like you and me, we'd go and buy something from a shop, that's retail. So that's classed as the tertiary market. Number 6 would be to know what contract caterers are. Now I mentioned it earlier in the vlog, but it basically means that the caterers supply the food to a venue. Okay, so they might cater for weddings, events, parties, garden parties, private birthday parties, etc. Okay, so it's a company that supplies the food and takes it to a venue. Now they will either cook the food before and transport it, or they might use the catering services that are on offer at the venue. It could be that they take their own catering equipment in the form of a food truck, for example. I'm sure you're all familiar with food trucks, and you'll have seen them around at food festivals or music festivals, or even on the street if you're wandering around a city. So that's contract caterers. Number 7 would be standards and ratings. Now we've got many different ways to rate different establishments, from hotels to restaurants and just the kitchens. The first one I want to mention is hotels and guest houses. Now these are given a star rating, and they are rated from 1 to 5. The next one you've all heard me talk about before is food hygiene standards. Now the food hygiene ratings, as you know, go from 0 to 5, and the environmental health officer decides on that rating when they inspect the establishment and the kitchen area. Now restaurant standards have 3 main systems. The first one you'll have heard of before, that is Michelin stars. Now these range from 1 star to 3 stars, 3 being the highest. The next one is the AA Rosette Awards. Now these range from a scale of 1 to 5. And the last one is the Good Food Guide reviews, and they range on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. There's also something called environmental standards. Now this is where we award 1 to 3 stars based on how environmentally friendly a company is. Numbers 8 to 10 are all based around job roles, but I'm going to split them down a little bit for you so it's a little bit easier to remember. So number 8 would be the job roles within the hospitality industry. Okay, they are split into sections. So the first one is management. You have a general manager who's responsible for the day-to-day running of the business, and then you have a finance manager who is responsible for ensuring the company pay the bills and the taxes and keep everything on board in respects to finance. Next is the kitchen brigade, and this is a team of people who ensure that the kitchen runs smoothly and ensures that customers get their food correctly and in a timely manner. I'll move on to this one a little bit later, so we'll go through all the different job roles within the kitchen brigade. The next would be front of house staff. Now front of house just means that they are customer facing, and they are the people that the customers coming into the hotel or their establishment see first. Again, I'll cover that a little bit later in the vlog. Next would be housekeeping. You've got a head housekeeper who's responsible for assigning their room attendants to various rooms to make sure every room is attended to and serviced and is ready for customer, and they have to communicate clearly with the reception so that they know which rooms are available and which aren't. Next you have the room attendants who themselves go and service the rooms. They make sure everything is clean and make sure everything is ready for a customer to walk into that room. Next on that section you have the maintenance staff. They're there to ensure that everything is working properly and they can do any repairs that they need to in the rooms or around the establishment. Number 9, we're going to go through front of house staff. Now the first one is the receptionist. That's someone you'll see as soon as you enter a hotel, and they are there to check you in and give you any general advice. Next you have the waiting staff who work in the restaurants, who are there for you to take your order and to serve your food. Next you have bar staff. They work on the bar and they serve you alcoholic beverages or soft drinks. You can also get a barista. They're there for hot drinks, also cold drinks, but they specialise in making coffees. Then you have a sommelier, and they are there to advise you on different wines and wines that might be appropriate to go with what you're eating. Then we have the concierge, one of the first people you see when you walk into the hotel. They will book you tickets, they will reserve seats, they will book you transport, anything you might need help with, they are there to help you. Number 10 is that you need to know who is part of the kitchen brigade. Now there's lots of different job titles within the kitchen brigade, so you might see me looking at my notes. I don't want to miss anyone off. First on the list though is the head chef or the executive chef. Now they are basically in charge, okay? They are in charge of menus, of stock control, staff rotas, ensuring everything is there and ready in the kitchen, like equipment. They are there to run the show, if you like. They are the head of the kitchen. Next you have your sous chef, second in command, and most of the time you will often find them running the kitchen. They are directly in charge of the food production. They make sure everything that goes out is of excellent quality. Next you have your section chefs or your chef de partie, and that just means that you have a chef who is in charge of one particular area of the menu. So there are many of them. You'll see me checking my notes, I don't want to miss anyone. But first on my list we have the sauce chef, someone who is in charge of making the sauces. One of the most respected, not one of the most, probably the most respected station chef there is. Then you have a pastry chef who's in charge of the desserts and the pastries. You have a fish chef, a roast chef, a vegetable chef, a soup chef, a larder chef. Now the larder chef's in charge of the cold items like salads. And then you get relief chefs as well. Now they are there if they need to step into any of the sections if someone is off or unavailable to work. Below your section chefs you have the commis chef. Now they will be assigned to one particular station and they are basically an assistant chef. They will help with the smaller tasks and they may be an apprentice. Then you have your porter, and your porter washes up and they may sometimes help with vegetable preparations. You also have a stock controller who is in charge of every aspect of stock control and making sure everything is there that the chefs need to produce what is on the menu. Okay everyone, so that is my top 10 for the structure of the hospitality and catering industry. Join me in the next video where we'll be looking at job requirements within the industry. Bye, I'll see you on the next video.